Okay, so let's look at modules now today. So I'll say new and let me create a directory, for example, for the time being. So I'm calling it com.c2t.modules1. For the time being, I'm giving it as a name module, right? Now, once we get started with some programming, you will understand that what is a module and how we can import that module into another file and make use of it. So let's say I go and create a Python file here and I'll call it as calculator, calculator. Fine. Now I will go inside that file and I'll try to create a method here. So we had seen yesterday how to create a method. So I'll say def of add, and I can maybe let's say I pass an argument a comma b here and colon, and what I'm going to do here is I'll just print a plus b. Okay, so I have created a file with a method add. I have also created another method here, so let's call it add one. Rather we'll call it add one. I'll call it add two. Okay, and here I'll pass one more argument, comma c, and I'll say plus c, plus of c. So what I have done here is, this is a simple file. Now in Python, a file which is named here calculator.py is known as a module. Okay, now what I can do is, sometimes what you have to do is, if you have a very big file, for example, which contains a number of methods, you could choose to take out some methods out of that particular file and put it into a single module, so that you can logically group together similar kind of functions. So for example, there was a file which was having a lot of mathematical operations, so I could have created, let's say, calculator, which is, for example, performing addition only for me. Okay, now I will create one another file and I'm going to call this any file operation. So I can call it anything, let's say operations, operations. Fine. Now what I have to do is, first of all, in order to use that particular file, I have to import that. import calculator. Okay, now one second, let me take this calculator. Now you will see that although there is a module existing here, it still prompts, or it gives a warning here, right? If you hover here, you will get to see that it shows some kind of no module named calculator, right? So therefore I'll right click on this module. No, it is uppercase. calculator. No, so this is uppercase only. Okay, so I right click on that folder here. I'll say make directory as source root. Okay, once I do that, then I can import any module in that particular file. Okay, so that is why I was telling you that when you have to import a file as a module into another file, then you have to make that source by right clicking on that. For example, right clicking, make directory as source root. So once it is a source root, whatever is in that particular directory, you can import that entire file as a module, right? Now if I have to call that particular method in that, so what I can do is I can simply say calculator dot add1 is there, right? So here I can pass 10 comma 20, right? So once I run this program, what will happen, it will call this method here add1 and it will display the addition of these two values. Right click, run. So I'm going to get an output as 10 plus 20 is 30, right? Now I can also perform add of maybe 2, where I have 3 arguments passed in the other method, right? So I'll right click, run calculator, and then right click, run calculator. Why I don't see any output? Oh, so I have to call it from, I have to execute this, right click, run as. I see the sum of 10 plus 20 plus 30, right? So can you please try this one and then we'll continue further. Okay, now this is perfectly fine example. Now let's suppose that somehow I want to import calculator, but I always don't want to type the entire calculator, right? So I can even say import calculator as C or CALC, right? So I can even do it like this, and then I can go ahead and call the method with calc dot add, right? So this is also similar to what we have just done here, right? Similarly, I can call a method with the 3 arguments. So this is a way of giving a maybe short name or a name of your choice by making it as either calc or C or whatever you want. So I have made it calc. Can you please try this one? Okay, now let's say for example that you just want to import a specific function from a file called calculator. Okay, so this has maybe a number of methods and you don't need all of this method. So what you can do is you can say from cal. So you can say cal from calculator import. I can specify a specific function name. So let's say I have add1, right? I can even choose to just import a specific function. Now that I have imported the function, right, now I do not need to prepend it with the calculator dot. I can simply say add of that calculator, isn't it? Why? Because earlier in the line number 1 and 2 I was importing calculator, but here I am now saying from this module, which is a calculator, import this method, so I can directly access that method as well. Is that right? Plus there is another variation of this one. So for example, let's say again the name of this method is very long. Okay, so I just want to call it maybe I want to give it a smaller name or provide some user friendly name. So add, I can set two numbers, as add two numbers here. I import this as two numbers, right? Now once I do that, then instead of calling add, I'll say add two numbers, and there I can pass 10 comma 20, right? So I have an option even to import the method specifically and then simply say as, so that I can give a user friendly name of my choice, right? So if I try to run this program, I guess we all know what is the output going to be, right? So let's run this program and see what happens. So on all the last three cases we get an output as 30 30 30, right? Can you please try this program?
If the existing also have a function named as add1,
so in that case it is going to conflict. I mean, since this is a liberty you have got, you would at least try to avoid conflicts of the same name, right?
yes.
Yeah. So can you please try out this piece of code? Okay, now as you have seen that we have got a flexibility with respect to importing maybe let's say again this my module, which is a calculator here, has multiple methods. So I could have in this line I have chosen to only import one, right? If there were like multiple of them, I could even say add two, right? So this way I can add import add one, add two, and multiple methods I can, or I can even try out like this, that I can say from calculator import star. So star, what it will do, it will get me all the methods from that particular module. I mean, in case it has like number of methods 10 15 or maybe even more, then you don't want to type each one of them, right? So you would rather use star as an import. Okay, and then you can simply say add of whatever method you wanted to use, so it will call the underlying method. So even if you comment, let's say this one, For example, let me comment this and let me comment this here. Okay, and this one I'll comment. So if I'm let me put a multi-line comment here. So okay, so now I only have one method add, which is getting called because I have done it from I'm not from calculator import star, right? So because I have searched import star, all the methods from that particular module has got imported here, and I can just call anyone, either add one or add two if I want to. So if I run this program, I'll get the output as 30 here, right? So this is how module works in Python. So basically the purpose of module is that you can have a single file containing specific methods for a particular functionality, for example. And then I mean, instead of having to, let's say you were performing you were wanting to perform some operations, right? So one operation could be mathematical operation file, right? A calculator file you can define, like we have defined. Another file you can define for different kind of operations. Rather than cluttering one single file with all those different methods, you can define multiple modules, and each module will have specific functions as per that functionality, and you can import them here and use them. Fine. So that's pretty much why we make use of modules, and it's basically to achieve modularity in terms of the code that we write in Python, right? So that's all for this module. We will go for the next one.